is going on, YouTube? I am Germ here. Today, as you guys can see up on the screen, we have another tier list coming your way. We ran through all the top laners that are going to be attending MSI yesterday. Today, we are going through the junglers. Again, you guys showed a decent amount of support on the video yesterday, and I really do appreciate it, but I'm looking for those same things again today. If you guys do enjoy these tier lists, if you guys want to continue to see more of these, definitely let me know that you enjoy them. Definitely drop a like, definitely leave comments down below, because these videos do take a little bit longer. They take a little bit more research, a little bit more gathering of information, so I would definitely really appreciate, you know, some feedback, either good or bad, whatever you guys are thinking. And then also just talking about specifically the making of this tier list. This is honestly very difficult. Junglers, we're in a weird state this year. We saw a very weird jungle meta throughout the whole season where people were playing mostly farming champs, pretty much the same champs everywhere around the world, and then trying to compare those styles and this jungle play all around the world, region to region, when we haven't seen much international competition the last couple years. Most of these junglers have very little, if any, international experience. There was nothing easy about making this list. This might be one of the harder lists to make, honestly, so you guys might have some disagreements here. I really kind of struggled knowing exactly what I want to do here, but I think I've come up with a decent list, and that's what we're going to be going over in today's video. Make sure you guys subscribe so you can stay up to date on all my latest content. With that being said, let's just get right into this. So first up, starting off at the very bottom, we have all 11 junglers here. We actually got everyone's picture today. We're going to be starting out with who I guess, you know, from my research, who I would kind of consider the worst jungler coming into this tournament. I am going to be going with Solid Snake of Infinity Esports in the F tier starting out. A lot of these junglers are really close, especially from these emerging regions where you'd never really know how strong that specific region is, how strong the competition, the talent in that region is compared to everyone else. But overall, I think Latin America or LLA coming in is one of the weaker regions for sure. You know, they're not the bottom tier, but they're kind of that tier 3. They're a little bit weak. Overall, Solid Snake's stats didn't really stand out to me in a significant way. I think he just looks a little bit rough coming into this. I don't believe we've seen any international performances from him in the last 2 years. So there's not a ton to go off of here. I think he had a 3.76 KDA during the regular season for Infinity. And yeah, just nothing crazy stood out to me here. I think he's going to have a tough time. I think he's going to struggle a little bit. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens. I do believe he is in a group with Damwon and Cloud9 as well, which means he's going to be going up against Canyon, going up against Blabber. Good luck to this man. I think that's where I want to start out on this list. Next up, from the LJL, Detonation Focus Me, I have Steel. Now, this guy actually had a pretty good regular season for Detonation Focus Me, a 7 KDA. I do believe he had the highest KDA of all junglers in that league, and that's pretty impressive. Obviously, that is definitely something standing out. But again, all of these stats need to be taken with a grain of salt, because it's like, how good was your team? How important to you were you? How important to the team were you? I don't know why I couldn't say that. And it just makes it really difficult to kind of compare these things. Also, you have to kind of just say, how strong relatively do I think the LJL is to other regions? How hard is it to have these standout stats, these standout performances? Overall, I do think the LJL is one of the weaker regions. Also, we have seen Steel internationally one time before, at least in the last 2 years that I could find, at Worlds 2020, where he did have a 2.06 KDA with Detonation Focus Me. So obviously struggled a little bit at that World. I mean, that's better stats than some of the people, but definitely not like a super standout performer. Maybe he's learned from that experience. Maybe he's now better coming into this year. Maybe he's going to show out way different at this MSI, but I do have Steel as kind of an F tier jungler coming into this. And now next up, we're moving into the C tier. This was really hard for me. I think there's a clump of junglers that all could be C tier. There's a case to be made for them for F tier. There's a case to be made for C tier, and then actually deciding between all of them is also pretty difficult. I'm going to be going with Pabu next up, though, from Pentanet. It's really tough for me because Pentanet absolutely dominated the LCO. I think they went like 17-1, something crazy like that during the regular season. Most of their players are coming into MSI with pretty nice stats, really big pop-off performances. They're coming in really hot, but overall, I really do think that the LCO is one of the weakest regions, especially after, you know, what's happened with like kind of the league dissolving, coming back together, and then also NA taking a lot of those Oceanic players and everything. So I think it's tough to take too much from any of these LCO performances. But I am impressed with what I'm seeing from Pabu in the little bits that I've seen from him. I don't believe we've seen him internationally in the last 2 seasons either, but he did have an 8.14 KDA in the league, and that is absolutely insane. That is absolutely nasty. And of the emerging region junglers, I think he's one guy that maybe could stand out a little bit, maybe could surprise a little bit. But again, that's my case for him being in C tier. I could absolutely see you saying that he just popped off in Osh, so who cares, and put him in the F tier. I would not complain too much about that either, but I think he has a chance to kind of surprise some people here. Next up, I have Karyok from Pain Gaming. This guy at PNG would not work for him, so he's got a picture with the background. And what really stood out to me here with Karyok is he played on Pain Gaming, who had a rough regular season. They finished 5th place in the CB LOL, I do believe. And Karyok was still able to come out with a very, very nice stat line during the regular season of 5.16 KDA. Now, maybe that's just because it's farming jungle meta and, you know, in the games they lost, he still wasn't dying a ton or anything. Or maybe, you know, he is actually having some pretty impactful performances. He's having some pretty good games, and it was not his fault that Pain Gaming kind of struggled at the beginning of the season. I just thought that was really, really impressive. That was one big number that stood out to me during all the research and gathering of information for this video, and that does lead me to believe that Karyok can be a pretty big standout performer and that he can actually surprise some people. Again, overall, I don't think CB LOL's that strong. I don't think they're that great of a region. I don't think, you know, popping off and having amazing stats in the CB LOL should mean that much headed into MSI, but I think given the context of this situation and scenario, that Karyok's stats actually do mean a decent amount here, and that he's actually probably a decently talented jungler. Overall, yeah, he had a 5.16 KDI. I don't think we've seen him in the last 2 international events, again, that being MSI, or not MSI, World 2020 and World 2019. So again, not too much to go off of here. A lot of these guys, since they haven't had international performances, we only have their league regular season and playoff performances to go off of, and that makes this very, very difficult because it's way easier once they've actually played internationally before, and we can see how they do against some of these other people. But that is not the case with a lot of these guys. Next up, still in the C tier, I have Ferret for the TCL. Now, this guy, Istanbul Wildcats, this guy was, he's only 19 years old, you know, new up-and-coming young player, kind of, a lot of people are seeing him as maybe like one of the next great TCL players. He is really, really talented. In that regular season, he did have a 6.31 KDA for the Istanbul Wildcats. That is absolutely monstrous. The TCL, considered one of the better emerging regions, one of the better, you know, small leagues, and he has some nice stats. He has had some nice performances. He is a very, very strong jungler. Again, with all of these guys, the meta's changing coming into MSI. MSI patch nerfed some stuff. Hecarim got his knees taken off, and they're nerfing Chemtank, and they're nerfing Deadman's Plate. And we really could see entirely different champion pools and all that headed into MSI, especially for the junglers. So that could change a lot of this. A lot of this is basing the regular seasons off an entirely different meta and patch than we're about to see. But just going off what we have seen, I think Ferret is a guy that a lot of people are excited for, a guy a lot of people have been impressed by. And he's definitely a guy to watch out for headed into this tournament. Next up, we have Ananasik for Unicorns of Love at the top of the C tier for me. This guy, we have seen him internationally a couple of different times. World 2019 for Unicorns of Love was a little bit rough, 1.98 KDA. You know, not exactly popping off, not exactly a standout performance, but he did actually see some improvement into Worlds 2020, coming out of that with a 2.39 KDA. CIS is overall a pretty strong region as far as emerging region goes. Ananasik has showed he can have some good international performances before, just like Unicorns of Love has, and overall, I think they are some talented players, some talented teams. I don't think Ananasik is overall that amazing. I don't think he's like the strong point of Unicorns of Love by any means. He had a 4.71 KDA in the league, so definitely not as crazy of a stat line or anything as we're going to see from some of these other guys. I hopefully he continues to improve. Hopefully he's learned from those past 2 international experiences. Hopefully he can come into this tournament strong. But I do think he has a better chance of succeeding than maybe some of these other emerging region players. So I have him at the top of my C tier. Next up, we're moving on to the B tier. Here I have River for PSG Talon. Now this guy is really, really hard to rate. People are very hyped up for PSG Talon players right now. People are very, very hyped up for this team coming into the tournament. Your PCS representatives are looking dominant and looking scary, and they're looking to be that emerging region team to really shake up MSI. But why River is hard for me to rate is this man had a 12.71 KDA in the regular season for PSG Talon. This guy was a monster. He was an absolute beast for PSG talent. But the thing that's holding him back from A tier for me, I think a lot of people are probably going to disagree. I think maybe some people would have River up in that A tier, maybe have an empty B tier. I don't really know. I think these top 5 junglers are pretty significantly ahead of these bottom, 6 junglers. So I think there is some big gaps. But for River, in Worlds 2020, we did see him last year, 2.13 KDA. Yes, PSG talent went 2-4 in the 6 games that he played. So that's going to, affect your KDA a little bit. It's going to, bring down your stats a little bit. But he didn't exactly dominate, didn't exactly pop off. He didn't exactly have any monstrous showings for PSG talent at that Worlds last year. So that is what scared me a little bit. Maybe, again, and this is always possible, he has grown and learned from those experiences. And maybe now he's ready to really come over and cement himself as maybe a top 4 jungler, at this tournament, top 3, start making some moves, pull off some big upsets. But maybe not. I would really like to see it first. Yes, he's had an impressive season, but you got to get the job done at the international level if you really want to get that full respect, because if you do bad, people will just say, "Oh, you're playing in an emerging region. Cool, bro. We don't care that you had an awesome regular season." So we'll see what happens there. But definitely Rivers guy to keep an eye out for, coming in with some very, very impressive stats at the least. And he's going to be scary. And again, people are very, very hyped up and excited for this whole PSG talent team. Yes, it does suck. Unified's not going to be playing, but this team is still a team to watch out for. Their players are still players to watch out for. But that is it for the B tier. Just one man chilling by himself. Next up, we get into the B tier, and at number 4, I'm going to have Elyoya. I know there's going to probably be a lot of debate. With every position, there's going to be debate between Mad Lions and Cloud9. There's going to be debate between Elyoya and Blabber. But here I have to go with Elyoya below Mr. Blabber on this list. Yes, Elyoya was an absolute beast in the playoffs. He was a very, very pivotal part of Mad Lion's success this season. He did win the kind of rookie of the split over in the LEC. I think it should have been Treats. I'm not really sure how Elyoya ended up getting this over him. Treats was an MVP candidate, but not the rookie of the split. A little bit weird to me. Whatever. Elyoya was still great in the regular season. He was even better in the playoffs. Yes, he did gap Jankos when they played against G2, but Jankos kind of struggled throughout all the playoffs, so I put a little bit of an asterisk by that. But he also had a very, very good performance against Inspired in the regular season as well. I think Elyoya has been great. I think he's been steadily improving over the split and into the playoffs, but with no international experience, being a rookie, heading into your first international tournament, as Mad Lions saw last year when they kind of flamed out of Worlds, it can be a little bit difficult. It's a whole different experience. It's a whole different world. Let's see if Elyoya can step up to the plate. Let's see if he can rise to the occasion before we just go, rating him too high coming into the tournament. And that is why I have Blabber above him in the A tier. Blabber, I really, really like watching this guy. Super, super fun. Absolute beast. To me, he is the best North American player in the LCS. And obviously he has the MVP, so maybe he's the best player in the LCS. But there's definitely some other cases to be made. Guys like Core JJ, guys like Alfari, obviously Perks, maybe who's the best player in the LCS. But Blabber is an absolute beast. NA talent at its finest. Plays an aggressive style, balls to the wall with Perks in the mid lane, teaming up. They're going to do some great things. Blabber does have a little bit of international experience. I believe Worlds, 2019? He played a couple of games with Cloud9 as he was subbing in with Stenskaren and stuff. I think he had some decent performances, had some crazy early games. I remember like an Elise game where he was popping off and stuff. Overall, again, you can't really go wrong with Elyoya or Blabber here, but I think Blabber coming in as the LCS MVP, coming in as a guy with international experience, and coming in as really just a very, very strong jungler that really has a great mindset that most North American players do not have. I think Blabber's going to come into this tournament and hopefully, he's up against Canyon in the group stage. Hopefully he holds his own, but I think against some of the guys who are not Canyon, I think he's really going to dominate and take over some games, and I would definitely rather have him over Elyoya at this point at least, but they're both amazing young junglers. EU should be excited, NA should be excited. Both of these guys are great. Getting into the S tier, at number 2, I have Wei for RNG. This guy, 18 years old. This guy's an absolute monster. I don't think we've seen him internationally previously, but he was one of the best, if not the best, junglers in the LPL this season for RNG. He's an absolute monster. Again, a young guy, upcoming, maybe a future star in the LPL, and to be able to make it to win the LPL in his first split with RNG, and to be able to make it to MSI, this guy is going to be exciting. He's going to be fun to watch, and he really should be a beast. it'll be interesting to see how obviously all of RNG comes together. There's going to be a lot of comparisons between all the RNG players and all the Damwon players, and then also seeing, you know, is RNG going to show up? Is Damwon going to show up? Every once in a while, we have these teams that come to international events and they flop. Their players flop. Is Way ready for this? Is he ready for international competition? Is he ready to step up and go against guys like Canyon on the international stage? But, you know, we'll see what happens. To me, he's a very, very good jungler. He's an exciting, fun, young player to watch. Future star, and he's in the S tier for me. And then finally, at number 1, the best jungler in the world, maybe one of the best players in the world, an absolute beast who carried Damwon all throughout last season, all throughout Worlds last season, all the way to a world title, coming back, still being just as monstrous as ever, is Canyon at number 1 in the S tier for me. This guy is the life, heart, blood, soul, sweat, tears, whatever you want to call it, of Damwon Gaming. Yes, they have some other very, very exciting players like Showmaker and the likes, but Canyon is the guy that makes his team tick. He is so crazy good. It feels so bad to play against him. It's got to be so frustrating. He is everywhere, always dominating games. He's the best jungler coming into this tournament. Really, I would say he's even a tier above even a guy like Way. Maybe we should add an S+ tier for Canyon, put Way at S. I don't know, but that is the best jungler coming into this tournament, and this is my MSI jungler tier list. Definitely drop a like on this video if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate it so, so much. Leave a comment down below. What do you think I got right? What do you think I got wrong? What does your tier list look like? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace!